Hi, my name is Corey Thomas, and today I'd like to talk to you about why owning an exotic animal is not a good idea. And I'd like to begin with how in December 8th of 2019, a Californian wildlife conservationist was attacked by her own two tigers in a very terrifying way. She was able to be pulled out, but not before she had many lacerations on her face and shoulders. Having an exotic animal can be dangerous to you and the animal, and they should be left alone. And my points today will be it can be dangerous to you and your community. The change may be harmful to the animal, and some are discarded by their owner who no longer wants them. So, exotic animals shouldn't be tamed or kept as pets, but why is that? Which brings me to my first point on having an exotic animal can be dangerous not only to you, but to also your community. Some animals make it past their owners and can wreak havoc on their neighborhood and just cause destruction and possibly injure other neighbors or yourself. And another thing that can happen is diseases, such as salmonella, carried by reptiles such as lizards, snakes, turtles, and hepatitis B, which is quite prominent in most species of monkeys, which do not harm them, but can harm you. And you can find more at bornfreeusa.org. Now, we've talked about how this affects you, but how exactly does this affect the animal? So, this brings me to my second point. The change in habitat may be harmful to the animal. Well, many private owners lack space and accommodations for the animals. This includes space and food. The animals may not have enough food or may not have the right food from the owners through ignorance and just lack of preparation for this animal. This can cause them to go hungry or become ill from wrong food sources. And another thing is lack of space. This can be emotionally trying for the animal, and it can just cause them to be sick or depressed because animals need their own land to call their own and to roam and to just be able to live comfortably. So now we know what happens to the animals. What happens whenever they get too big and unmanageable? Which brings me to my third point, which is just as we release some of our pets into the wild, some exotic pet owners do the exact same thing with theirs. Another one of the examples of this is baby lions. Most of them are bought whenever they're cute and manageable, but once they get too big and ferocious for their owners, they are released into the wild, which can cause them to either wreak havoc on surrounding areas or go hungry and starve because they lacked their mother's instruction and guidance. And another big one that has happened and has caused havoc in Florida is Burmese pythons. So Burmese pythons is a form of snake and reptile that constricts their prey, and they were originally brought in through places like Burmese in order to become pets. Well, this was a very big trend, but people in Florida were releasing these into the wild, and this was wreaking havoc on their ecosystem. Well, sadly, there was a bounty put on these snakes, where if you were to kill it, and if it were within the certain height or the length restrictions, you could be paid for it. Well, this brought up some controversy over, well, what happens to those pet owners who still have their pets, but they just want to make a profit off it, so they killed their own pet. Now, another opposing argument to this could be, well, these animals need these homes. It's better for them than just living out in the wild, supposedly. Well, that is true in some cases, but more often than not, these animals would be better off on their own and without the intervention of humans. So we have covered why exotic pets are a bad idea, and I'd like to leave y'all with an interesting little fact. So we've talked about how it is dangerous for you and your community, how it is harmful to the animal, and what happens whenever the owner doesn't want them and they discard them. So, having an exotic animal is a bad idea. It is a dangerous gamble, and the animals can be affected as well as you, and they should just really be left alone. And I'd like to leave you with this: baby lions for Hold Me or Pet Me programs that you can find at, say, flea markets or any other just pop up, run of the mill, just organizations, often have very inhumane ways of treating their baby animals, such as most of them will starve and deprive the lions out of proper nutrients and calcium to keep them at a small, manageable size. This often leads to them being malnourished and being very sickly. And another thing is they are taken from their moms at a very young age, which can lead them to be very, they lack their mother's milk because whenever they're taken from them, they don't get that sustenance because their mothers are going back into breeding in order to have more baby lions, while the cub is being bottle fed through nutrients that is artificial. Well, I hope that has enlightened some of y'all and maybe push some of y'all into why you shouldn't own a exotic pet, or at least be informed if you do have an exotic pet. And thank you for your time and thank you for listening. You can find all of the sites and sources that I use down in the description below. Thank you.